I need to start off this show by apologizing for my language that I used to start off last show. I didn't use the politically correct term when I said crazy house, and so I just want to apologize to my people that have experienced places like that because I'm sure that it's mentally I can't even do it with a straight face. I can't do it with a straight face.
Shout out
I
to
can't even do it
AB.
with a straight.
Shout out to the helmet to helmets.
Whole lot of money, bro.
Yo,
Another fucking busted parlay, man. I'm sick at this
I'm
point. I'm
sick.
devastated. I'm
Uh,
devastated.
yeah, it's like I think that's the feeling that the majority of like NFL fans must have felt throughout the decades of the Patriots domination. Like no kidding. Like I feel like we can't get a win to save our lives, and we're trying our best using statistics, using what our hearts are telling us, using all kinds of different analytics, and it's just like we can't beat Vegas. I guess. I
Can
guess
never
that's
beat
why it's
Vegas.
called house money.
Can't beat Vegas. Speaking of Tom Brady in Vegas, did you see what Mark Davis said about the Davante Adams trade? He said we
I did
traded
not.
Davante Adams for a third round pick and Tom Brady because he was approved as minority
I seen
owner
that.
of
Yeah, I did.
well, the
I
Las
did see
Vegas
the
Raiders.
approved ownership, but I did not see those comments.
What's
So
crazy is that Brady's owned the Raiders for a long time, ever since that was an 0-2 game with the Tuck rule. So
yeah,
I think it's just it's finally official, but it's been like that for maybe the last 2 decades or so. But in all seriousness, let me clean up what I said earlier. Mental health is no joke, seriously. So if you need help, go get help. Um,
it's
I don't,
it's not that easy. Guys. It's not like I'm gonna just go get help. There's usually
you know,
like in a place of you waiting on me.
yeah, no, no, I
You sound
no,
like
no,
you
no,
was gonna
no.
say something.
I was gonna, but then you was about to go on something, so I don't want to be rude or disrespectful.
Go ahead.
Media trained Matt. Um, no, what I was gonna say is that I saw a commercial for a specific way to seek therapy. This new company or app or website or whatever, and I found it interesting because like they had some testimonials and they're like, I like it because there's more options and I really had the choice of picking my therapist. And I kind of thought like if you truly need help, is you picking your own therapist really the best thing for you? I've never sought professional therapy, so um, maybe it's a ignorant comment or so. But I'm just curious, like if you're in a place where you need
No, I
help,
get.
should you really be making that decision yourself, or should
So I get
you
I get what you're
should some
saying.
kind of professional assist
Yeah,
you in
yeah,
doing
yeah.
that?
You're not trying to be ignorant. You just can't help yourself. Not, um, as someone who went to therapy, I would say, did I have options? I had options. Um,
I got
but
options,
I honestly didn't know what to expect with either with any of it because it was brand new to me.
right?
Um, I guess, and I do hear what you're saying, but you want to have some kind of comfort with who you're speaking with. So if you just get thrown somewhere and you have to have these intimate, detailed conversations with someone, it's very hard to open up with someone you're not comfortable with or that's not you feel like it's not going to relate, right? Like, um, I'll, Scooby, can you relax, buddy? We're talking about mental health, and you're driving me nuts. Um, so nah, but like I won't say who, but I know someone who went to therapy, and the person they were speaking with or partnered with had no there was no you couldn't relate. That person could not relate with the other individual to the point where it's like you're not even listening at this point. You're just you know what I mean? So I think it does matter. It's almost like with anything else, right? Like you can have a professional I don't know, quarterback and since we've been talking about it, and they're not great or they don't have that chemistry where the partnership's not as good. So you're in a fucked up position, if not worse.
Well, I get that. I just think like and again, it's just ignorance, right? I've never personally went and done that. Is like isn't a connection that's something that's built over time. I get like we all get these vibes and we all know like you can kind of tell if you're gonna vibe with somebody pretty quick into a conversation or interaction. Just based off of body language, if you feel like you're being received, if you feel like you're able to receive the other person. I was just curious as to if I need help for something, am I going to be the best judge of something, or am I going to go to the person that is going to tell me some of the things that I want to be hearing instead of the things that I need to be hearing?
So I understand. That's why I knew where you was going with that, but I don't think that's what you're looking for necessarily. You're not. I don't. Yeah, I don't think that's what you're looking for. I mean, me personally, at least, that's not what I was looking for. I didn't want another yes man or you know anything like that in my corner. I needed someone to tell me the blunt truth so I can be aware of something I'm not aware of and then fix the things that I need fixing. So I don't think that's necessarily the first thing that's on someone's mind. But
Yeah,
I can't speak for them either. I can only speak from my own experience.
yeah, yeah. I mean, a whole interesting thing. I've always been. I'm not necessarily curious about it. Um, because I feel like I mean, I've never been to like traditional therapy, but I feel, and I've said it to you before, like, I go to church on Sundays and I feel like every time I go to church, that's like my therapy, right? I hear what I'm doing wrong all the time. That's
Yeah.
every Sunday. There's something where it's like, ooh, yeah, I do that. That's wrong. I shouldn't be doing that. But I don't pick, right? Like I don't pick what the shit I want to hear, and so like I have no say in any of that, and it's
Yeah.
worked at least for myself. So that's why I was curious about like you have all these options, like but it's like is that a good thing? Because we kind of talk about it sometimes, like even as parents about sometimes giving your kids too many options can be a bad thing, right? Um,
I
because
get
of
it, right? But
they become
I get
picky
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
they become selective, and so again, but adults are just big kids at the end of the day, right? We're just big kids, so um, yeah, I don't know, just something that came to mind when I saw that commercial. I was like, that's an interesting fucking thing to say. Like, I gotta pick my therapist. I'm like, but is that if you need professional help, then maybe decision making is something that you're not good at. I don't know.
Just
Guys,
because so
I promise if you're still here 8 minutes in, I promise my goal is not to offend anybody today. I
no,
just
no.
I just
No,
things that
so
go through my mind.
I do like I love talking about this. We always discuss mental health, and I think that when we joke around to some degree, w- you know, the way the world is now, it's a little bit more sensitive where
Yeah.
somebody always has an issue, right? But at the end of the day, we're advocates for mental health. We talked about it on numerous episodes, and we hope people that are in a dark place or just a place with unknown that they do get the attention that they need and what I feel deserve. Right? Uh, it's hard to talk about it in a sense of somebody else's perspective. Right? Again, I can only speak from my own experience. So if even though I had my decision and I know that mentally I might not have been making the right choices at that time, that that choice wasn't gonna, at least in my experience, was not going to affect my decision with the therapist based
Mm,
off of what I wanted to hear, right? In fact,
sure.
if that therapist had told me everything I wanted to hear, there's a good thing I would have just quit therapy sooner and moved on. Do you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
Because I wasn't getting the help that I needed. I don't think someone that's anybody, and that's whether it's a friend or a colleague or whatever, anybody who's a yes man is not really helping you out. So, what's the point?
Yeah, I think that's a mindset that you have though, right? Like, and I feel like that's a rare thing because listen, no matter who you are, how mature you are, there is comfort in hearing the things that you want to hear. And so I think you just have a unique makeup that allows you to be like, yeah, I don't this is not what I need right now. Even though your mind is telling you, yeah, this feels good, right? But it could be your heart telling you, or your gut telling you, like, yeah, but that's not what I need to be hearing. And not everybody has that shit. Like, we say common sense isn't common. Well, self-awareness definitely isn't.
Yeah,
And
no, I agree with that. What
so
I was
that's what I thought came from.
no. So real quick, because it's a perfect segue. You shouted out, in a sense, you shouted me out for being rare and having that kind of awareness. So I did want to shout out to something else that I seek therapy. Well, at least helps me get through the. We can't help it. Yo. So I wanted to shout out this company because it's called Rare Character. It's called Rare Character, right? It's a single barrel. It's selected by a specific liquor store. This particular liquor store is called Beverage King out in Norwalk, Connecticut. The owner is a super nice guy, and he's always giving back. So, this bottle specifically, which I got for my birthday, um, you had to donate uh minimum $50 to purchase the bottle, which the bottle was $100. So if I got two, so that would be what, 300, right? But 100 of it went to breast cancer awareness. So that's the important thing. Just doing stuff for charity. I loved it. He does another thing called blankets for bourbon. So you donate items of clothing, blankets, and they make like a wish list online, and you show them the receipt to prove it, and then you have access to purchase allocated bottles of bourbon at MSRP, which is rare these days. It's not
Yep.
about the liquor though. It's more about of this guy, not just about the liquor, but that owner's character and how you just was talking about it, right? Like that's just something that I think should be praised, and I'm appreciative. Now I get to enjoy. This is gonna be my first drink. This is my first drink of Rare Character, other than a little sample. He let us try it. Scooby obviously he wants to be a part of the show. So while he's talking to you, man, I'm gonna have my first little pour. So real quick, because you guys know, or most people know, I'm big into bourbon now. This is 132.86 proof, which is pretty significant. The top, Matt, thank you. I appreciate you, brother. You helped me find out how to even open this bottle because of the top. It's wax, so it's not like you
Wax
just pop the
seal.
top. Pretty dope. Yeah, and I don't. When did we record last? Last Tuesday,
Oh,
right?
last week, yes, sir.
And my birthday was on Thursday, so first show since my birthday. The big
Salud,
2-0.
my brother.
Thank you,
Cheers to
bro.
you.
Appreciate you.
Cheers to you. More life, much life. And I just want to call out two things. First and foremost, I think you said that bottle was like 132 proof or something like that. They distill that in the same place where they make Tabasco sauce. So that he's pretty much drinking straight up fucking hot sauce. That's one. Two, I gotta shout you out for being bold. We had a conversation about therapy, and you're like, "Yep, therapy, perfect segue to talk about liquor." So, we are cooking. We are absolutely kicking. This is gonna be a late intro drop. Infamously speaking, you're
We
tuned in.
here.
Welcome back to another episode of Infamously Speaking. I'm Matt Rosa, joined by the infamous Quan. As always, thank you for rocking with us. Like I said, it was a little bit late intro drop. You know how sometimes the vibes are, the conversations are flowing. We can't stop it, so we just let it go. Quan did
Yes,
his little
sir.
starting shout out. I want to do mine. I'm rocking the Yankee cap. Quan rocking the Yankee cap. Got the Yankee jersey on. Yankees go up 2-0 in the ALCS, but that's not even my starting shout out. I actually want to start out my son, who shares an October birthday with Quan. My son born on the 1st. Quan born, of course, on the 10th. That's Quan's godson as well. He had his 4-year wellness check-in today. And this is probably the first check-in he did. No crying, not even a single tear, man. He got shots. He had to get on
Oh
the big
man,
boy scale. He had to get on the big boy scale, all this stuff. And I was just so proud of him the way he
proud,
handled
yo.
it. The way he handled it. And on top of that, he wasn't feeling the greatest. He's dealing with the stuff he knows right now. So it's the small things as a parent. I would never think I'd be shouting some shit out like that. But I mean, I you can even ask my wife. Like, I was over the moon just the way that he handled that. And he had to get 3 shots, man. And he took them
Yeah,
like a champ. No crying, no nothing.
yeah. Shout out
So
to E Man. Shout out to E
just
Man.
proud of my guy,
Yo,
man.
it's crazy when you're like, yeah, I'm proud of my son for taking those shots. Like, oh man, like, yo, that's wild.
We talk about liquor, therapy,
Yeah,
shots. I didn't say what kind of shot. But
yeah,
yeah, man. It's just like the small things, man. And I know, of course, as a parent, but I find so much joy in the small things, more than I thought I ever would, even more than the big things, like just in the day to day, because that's kind of what helps you get through the day to day. Like, the grind could be so monotonous sometimes, and I had a I had an annoying ass day at work, and I'm like, dang, I can't even finish all the work I got to do because I got to take him to this appointment. He's probably gonna cry because he got to get shots, and he just stepped up in a big way, and so
yeah,
that was kind of cool to see. Even the doctor's like, this shit is crazy. Like, he's not crying. He's over
yeah.
there looking at the needle going into his leg. Uh, Medicine, of course, when I say it's shit like that. But
Nah, shout out to E Man. That's big
yeah,
time.
man, it was dope. It was when I say it was dope, it was dope to see it. It wasn't dope going into
What?
him.
Yo,
Let me
but you're very articulate, but you've been choosing the wrong choice of
yeah.
words a lot lately.
Let's
Like
talk
a lot.
about clearly putting words together is not my specialty, but we can move on to something that's a little bit more my specialty, not quite. Um Another starting shout out. Quan and I absolutely cooked up this week when it came to picking games. We only each got 2 wrong. We killed it, man. Quan picked the Commanders to win. Obviously, Baltimore did, and I picked the Giants to beat Cincinnati. Obviously, the Giants lost, and then we both picked the Jets to beat Buffalo. Other than that, we nailed every single game. So, big shout out to us. By far, our best week making picks. So let's jump into a little bit of NFL action. Theme this week: the rookie quarterback, starting in London, the second home of the Jacksonville Jaguars, where they lost to the Chicago Bears by a score of 35-16. Caleb Williams continuing to get better and better by a week. Quan, I just want your thoughts and reactions to how Caleb's looked so far, and how impressed you are by his progression.
Well, I'm obviously impressed because 23 or 29 is no easy feat. You traveling all the way overseas where everybody got different jerseys on. Some probably even have Judge's jersey on for whatever reason. But um, I'm not sold yet. It was the Jags. I could probably throw for 200 on the Jags. I thought that the Bears had a better team overall, so we called this. I think that even the night before when we started our picks for the parlay, we talked about how he's going to have a good game. Like, it was inevitable. So I am impressed, but I'm not sold yet. Um, he's got to win bigger games against better opponents, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. To be honest with you, of course, like you said, 23 for 29 is impressive. 4 touchdowns, also very impressive, and it looks like he's gotten better every single game. What I will say, like you said, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars who probably will be moving on from their coach at some point. If they don't do it in season, it's going to happen right after their season ends. Um, and so, you gotta take that into account, but he's gotten better every single game. And I think that's what's impressive. Now, of course, their schedule after playing a really tough game against the Texans. Colts, he didn't look so good. Rams, he looked better. Panthers looked really good. Jaguars, so not necessarily world
Look
beaters,
at it's the schedule. Look at this.
but looking ahead, huge matchup this week. Bears at Commanders, first and second overall pick. So he has a really big opportunity to show, hey, rookie of the year
No,
could potentially be on the line against this game. To
they
be
don't
honest
play the
with you.
Commanders.
Oh, they got a bye actually. It's bye this week.
Yeah,
It's bye this week. Next game's Commanders. So
okay.
So after their bye, they play the Commanders. And so that's an opportunity right there to kind of show out. Now, granted, Commanders defense hasn't been great. That's probably been their weakness this year.
That's their biggest weakness.
But what I will say, but the difference between the Commanders and the other teams that they played is that the Commanders put pressure on you offensively, right? You got to continue to score to keep up with them. And as a rookie quarterback, that could put pressure on you because you might think, we talk about it all the time, like when teams used to play the Patriots or now when they play Kansas City, when you play teams that can strike at any time, that are efficient, that score, you feel like you got to take big swings when maybe you don't have to.
I agree. I think it's a great game to showcase the top two rookie quarterbacks of the draft. What I will say is that realistically, it should be easier for Caleb to put up better numbers than Jalen in this head-to-head matchup, just because I feel like Chicago has a better defense.
Quality defense.
Jalen's
that guy, though.
He's that guy.
Jalen's
so
that
you're
guy.
gonna see,
He's
and I think that you'll continue to see that throughout this game. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I like that call out. And just moving over to the Jacksonville side, not really much to talk about there other than Trevor Lawrence looks he's just bad, man. He's just bad. Like, you talk about bad contracts, him getting the bag from Jacksonville, that hasn't aged well. So what they do, no one's going to take that from them. And so it has to be coaching change and then putting talent around them. They thought Gabe Davis for Calvin Ridley was the play. Obviously, their rookie Brian Thomas, I think, is going to be a stud for years to come. But there's just so many problems across that entire roster. So let's move on to your guy, Drake May. Houston going into New England and winning 41-21. I'll take the Houston angle real quick, Quan, and I'll let you talk about your guy, Drake May. I have been critical of Houston, even though they were 4-1 going into this game. I said they have not played a complete game, something that's impressed me. And where they're in games or their opponents in games that they shouldn't be in, because Houston just has that kind of caliber of a roster. And Houston did their thing from start to finish this game. It was what I was looking for. I will say the health of Nico Collins is critical. Is absolutely critical for them.
100%.
So
top 5
that's the
receiver
thing
in the
to
league.
Watch. That's the thing to watch. But other than that, I was thoroughly impressed by Houston. But I'll let you talk about your guy, Drake May.
Thank you. He has
some impressive shit.
We just talked about two great rookies out the draft, right? Top 2. So going top 3 is my guy, Drizzy Drake May. Oh shit. Yo, you gotta drop one of your infamous sound bites right there.
I don't have one for Drizzy Drake May just yet.
I told you, and I told multiple people, I'm a firm believer in Drake May. When I started really breaking down his collegiate career, not only that, but his family, because I think a lot of that chip on your shoulder mentality, or that I want to make it and win mentality, comes a lot from your background and what you're able to produce. So
100%.
I think that he's going to be our future, quite honestly. And I've said that for a while now. I didn't feel comfortable just throwing him in so soon, just because we talked about it. That offensive line is not really good. And I didn't want him to start losing confidence because, it's obviously a lot more difficult to make plays when you have an offensive line that's made of paper. So, but he has the intangibles of like stepping up. There was a play when Brissett would have got sacked, quite frankly, but he stepped up and he ran for about 10 yards, got the first down. Those are the intangibles that we need, especially how the league is set up now. And he's got an arm. You mentioned it before. That 40-yard touchdown bomb was on the money. I don't think it could have been placed any better. So for his debut to go 20 or 33 with 3 touchdowns was great. Obviously, he had 2 interceptions, but I'll just tote that up to his
Clean
first
it up.
career NFL game. Yeah,
First
D'Amico
start.
Ryans.
Tough
Yeah, it
defense.
is what it is.
Yeah,
What
I
I
was
am worried
impressed.
about is our defense. I thought our defense would be a lot better. Granted, Texans offense is not like anything to sneeze at as
And
far
they
as
got Joe
being
Mixon back. They got Joe Mixon back
exactly.
this
And
game.
Joe Mixon went crazy. So
Yep. So did Damian Pierce on that long run. So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, man. That throw to Butte was, I mean, just you had to catch it at that point. Like he didn't catch the ball caught him at the that's how well it was thrown.
Yeah.
And what I did like you mentioned, the scrambling ability. I mean, he was the team's leading rusher, but just showed a lot of the mobility. So New England, you might have found your guy for the future. They definitely need pieces, though. Of course, they're a talent devoid roster, but I mean, you get the quarterback right, that's the start of something great. Obviously, y'all know that. You got Tom Brady right in 20 years.
Yeah.
So let's move on. We talked about the first overall pick, third overall pick. Let's talk about the second overall pick. Quan, I'll let you take first out of this game. Washington going into Baltimore, losing 23-30 in a game that was going back and forth. What were your takeaways from how Jaden played, and how do you think the Commanders continue to move forward? Big loss, by the way, for them. Jonathan Allen, their best defensive player with a torn pec, out for the year.
Yeah, that was tough. I did miss a good portion of this game because to get that rare character bottle that we talked about, it was a special release on Sundays. This is my first time going to a release of bourbon, and it's like a iPhone launch or like a sneaker drop. Like there's a line.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and so I had to go out there. I wanted it. I wanted to make that happen. So I did miss some of the game, but looking at how the game played out, I'm not mad at all. When I picked Washington, it was more of a heart pick and just me standing on business and Dirty Daniels. He played a great game, right? He had a 110 passer rating. I just think that overall, having Derrick Henry was a difference maker. I mean, the guy had 132 yards again. So, and shout out to the Ravens, because I think that's the only problem with the Ravens in the past is their identity and then losing it in the playoffs, right? So hopefully they can continue what they're doing, because I would like to see Lamar Jackson raise that Lombardi trophy at least once in his career, to be honest with you.
Yeah, definitely a great call up by you. Obviously, Jaden played a great game. Like you mentioned, 110 passer rating, just sharp. He had a throw down the sidelines to Brown, which was was crazy. But this is what Lamar does to NFC teams, and I know we said on the show that Baltimore being a touchdown favorite was disrespectful to Washington, even though Baltimore won by a touchdown. The game felt a lot closer than I think the 7 points might suggest, just because of Washington's ability to move the ball. Now, we talked about this. Washington's defense is kind of what allows other teams to stay in the game. But from the Baltimore angle, I don't think I've seen Lamar pass the ball this well, maybe his entire career. And then, of course, the addition of Derrick Henry, 24 for 132, didn't even pop the super long run. He had a 27. 27 was the long run of the day. But the 24 touches is what you want to see. Zay Flowers, I love how much he was involved in the offense early and often in the game. And that's the recipe for success. Lamar throws the ball less than 30 times. Derrick Henry touches the ball 24, 25 times. And Zay Flowers gets a majority of your receiving targets. That's how you win games.
What was the average yards downfield Lamar was throwing? Do you
That's a
know?
great question. That's a great
The
question.
reason why I asked, right, because they run that play, and I think more teams should do this. To be honest with you, the Dolphins were doing it a lot, which is they'll send their man in motion, usually Tyreek, in this case Zay Flowers, and he'll run past the quarterback, and the quarterback just pitch it in front of him real quick. It counts as a pass, but
Yep.
to be honest, that play, I've seen that play usually get 5-6 yards easy, like I'm talking easy, if not more. So I bring that up because I think it's the smart thing to do with Lamar, right? You see completions, you see first downs, you build confidence.
Yep.
I just watched it. I think it was Ocho Cinco and Sharp, and they were talking about him being like super accurate now. But I'm like, they're just forgetting 6 weeks. Excuse me, that drink is pretty tough. 6 weeks ago, Lamar. This guy sounds drinking hot sauce is crazy. Lamar, Lamar. 6 weeks ago, Lamar Jackson threw one of the most atrocious pass ever at the end of a game. Right?
That's fact. Two of them.
Two. Yeah. So I'm not forgetting that, but I'm not also letting that be. That's all. That's who Lamar Jackson is. He's just an inaccurate person. I feel like I said, I think they're doing the right thing with making sure he gets these completions, building that
Yeah.
confidence, because he got a
Yep.
hell of an arm. He throws a bullet. It's just
Yep.
about putting in the right place, which he's been doing. So credit to him for that. Um, and shout out to the Ravens for getting that win against my guy Dirty Daniels. Doesn't really matter because they're still gonna walk away with that division.
They are on a heater. Ravens started 0-2, 4-2, leading the AFC North.
We talked about that, didn't we? About them turning
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did. We talked about our lack of confidence in Pittsburgh, even though Pittsburgh
Yeah.
won. But yeah. Let's
Who
move on
Pittsburgh
to
play
but
again?
Pittsburgh played the Raiders. That's the game that we will
Oh
definitely not be
no.
talking about.
Yeah,
But
yeah. They played the Raiders. Come on, guy.
um let's talk about maybe my favorite game of the week. Now, it's a little I wouldn't say it's not I would say it's bittersweet because I picked Dallas to win the division, but it's not bitter at all. Like this as a Giants fan, this feels I think as a non-Cowboys fan, this feels fantastic. But especially as a Giants fan. Detroit going to Dallas and absolutely destroying the Cowboys 47-9. I'm gonna take the Dallas angle because this was my pick to win the division, and then I'll let you talk about Detroit. Um, First and foremost, boy, was that fucking awful.
That was
Was
bad.
that fucking awful?
That was bad. That was bad.
Um, there's just so many things to point out at Dallas that you're just like, what the fuck happened? So one reason I picked Dallas, and I know we didn't record our division pick show, but the reason I picked them is because they consistent. They win 12 games a year, and they're so dominant at home.
At
Well,
home, yep.
they are 0-4 in their last 4 home games, dating back to what happened to them when Green Bay came and absolutely destroyed them in the wild card game.
Yep.
They're giving up over 40 points a game at home. Before this skid,
You can't win
they
like
were
that.
they were 16-0. They're on a 16-game winning streak at home, and so just an absolute catastrophe. And you could say, oh, but Micah wasn't playing, and Tank Lawrence wasn't playing. That shit didn't matter, bro. You could have Lawrence Taylor playing on the other side. That their offense was so atrocious. Dak looked terrible. They have no running game. We gave Rico Suave credit last week. Man went 5 for 25. Now, granted, that's because they were in a hole so fast in that game.
Yeah.
I think the score is like 7. It was like 7-6, I think. And then Dak threw that pick, and then Detroit just went right down, scored, stopped them, scored again, and Detroit was doing whatever the fuck they wanted with Dallas at that point. And so,
Yeah.
we'll get more into what's transpired since that game has happened, but let's just say, um, the Cowboys are more of a circus than a football team at this point in time. All that is crazy because they're only a game out of the division. Now, I think, you're extremely confident in Washington. Um, if I had to pick right now, Washington by far is the best team in that division. Um, but shout out to Detroit. Shout out to Detroit for they never, they had that bad taste in their mouth last year, obviously getting robbed, and they came and did this. So I'll let you take it away and talk about Detroit.
Yeah, I picked Detroit to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I picked them to win it as well. So I'm a
Mm-hmm.
big fan of Detroit. I just think they have a lot of weapons. I think the usage of Jameson Williams is key. The games they lost, I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but I know he wasn't involved in the game plan. I feel like he does way better in domes and stuff like that, and they make the effort to get him the ball. I know he had a big play, big touchdown catch. But Goff is actually playing really good football. He just was accurate, perfect. The week before, right when they played, and they just have so many weapons. They finally got Laporta involved in that trick play. He took it down the field, so you know what they still have in him. And it's scary, right? I'm looking at the box score, and Khalif Raymond getting involved, 4 catches, 73 yards. Tim Patrick, 3 catches, 68 yards. Like when
It's
you start getting
spooky.
all these people involved, yeah. Allen Robinson got a target. I don't think Allen Robinson got a target since he's been in Jacksonville, guy. Like, like this is they did whatever they wanted to Detroit,
Bro,
to Dallas. Like
Amon Ra only having 4 for 37 and them winning 47-9 is
spooky. That's spooky.
spooky.
Yeah. That running
Spooky.
game is unbelievable,
Oh, it's
right?
crazy.
Montgomery,
Savage.
he's looking like a
He just got an
real
extension.
beast. Yep. Right before the game, like
Shout
the
out to
day
him
before.
for securing the bag.
So you got that 1-2 combination, which I think is really important, right? As a Patriots fan, when we had our run, we usually had a 1-2 punch, whether it was Blunt and someone like White, and then we got Kevin Falk with Corey Dillon, stuff like that. So, I think that's important. So at the end of the day, this game means nothing because I think Dallas was frauds from the start. Like not from the start, but the start of this game.
I know what you meant. No, you've been saying Dallas is frauds for as long as I've been saying Philly is frauds. So
Yeah,
um
they're
one
both
thing
scammers.
that I let's not go down that road. One thing that I thoroughly enjoyed was I'm not sure if you saw it, but the first play of the game, like last year, because they got called out on that man not reporting as eligible. Same player
Yep.
goes out there and reports as eligible first play of the game. And then
Yeah.
they try to have a little play to Panay Sewell, they're one of their offensive linemen.
Yeah.
They had one of their old linemen run like a little flare screen. Like they were
Yeah.
just like, bro, we could
We'll
do this.
whatever
We
we
could
want.
we could throw away plays and beat y'all not even trying. So
Yeah.
shout out to Detroit, man. In the last game of this week that I want to talk about, I was tempted to talk about Cincinnati at the Giants, but that show was just depressing. This was also another depressing game because I'm not sure if you want to share what we missed our parlay by, but Buffalo at the Jets, and I talked first about this game's last game, so I'll let you go first here, whatever angle you want to take.
I'm taking the fucking parlay angle. So fucking mad about that, man.
It's the only angle that matters.
Only angle that mattered, man. And it was your boy, Braylon Allen.
You picked that,
What
bro.
a drop. What a drop.
That drop killed us.
That drop was it. We had him for one catch. And Josh Allen, I know. Josh needed about 7 yards or something. He ruined a lot of tickets. Now if we were talking about the game itself, what I really wanted to watch was what Buffalo was going to do with the last minute news of James Cook. They're banged up on both sides of the ball. Josh Allen coming off of a 9 for 30 loss, a big loss, and then going into New York at MetLife against a solid defense, right? So I think Josh Allen's still a pumpkin. Big win, so shout out to him for that. But I
Huge
think it
one.
was the coaching and going out there on their first drive and throwing one pass and running the rest of the way. Ray
Agreed.
Davis
Agreed.
looked like an all pro. In fact, he's the only one. I forgot that the stat showed. He's the only one with 50 yards rushing, 50 yards receiving in the first half since I think it might have been Derrick Henry or someone. So it was someone elite, but you put Ray Davis in that conversation, then it's like, you know,
Ray Davis looked like
you didn't expect that, is what I'm saying.
he looked like Thurman Thomas, man. They
Yeah.
couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the run. I agree with your take. I mean, we were texting during the game because of the parlay, but like the game was so sloppy, over 200 penalty yards accepted, just bad. Officiating was bad. But honestly, neither team. I feel, and I said it like I'm like neither of them deserve to win, bro. At this point,
No, you
neither of
did
them
say
deserve to
that.
win.
Yeah.
Even though you look at the box score, like, oh, Josh Allen, 9 for 25, 215, 2 touchdowns. He looked great. Their offense really stalled in the second half. Bad. They only scored 3 points second half. The Jets also, you look also their defense. Jets actually had some pretty good drives. They missed 2 field goals. I know Buffalo missed one too. But Greg the leg. I'm not going to finish the sentence, but Greg the leg.
Oh man.
And I would also throw out that 4-2, so it's a big win because they separate themselves from the rest of the division up by 2 games. Everybody else is either 2-4 or 1-5, and so that's big for them. But they have not been impressive the last couple weeks. And then the Jets, obviously the big news comes down today that they trade for Davante Adams, which is gonna do, I don't know. You said nothing. I say the I think the problem is the entire organization should probably just be reset. Like Davante Adams is not the move you need to make. After you have Lazard going 6 for 114, of course, the Hail Mary is half of that. But Garrett Wilson cooking. Brees Hall was effective out of the backfield catching passes. He had his best game rushing by far against what we consider to be a decent Buffalo defense, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, does Davante Adams solve that? I don't know what that does. Like, their defense was just getting ran over, and so it's like they fire the coach. The defense doesn't look as good, but the offense looks better. He was planning to make the move to get rid of Hackett anyways, and so it just doesn't make any sense at all. And you lose a game that would have put you in first in the division, and it was right there for you to win. And I don't fucking know, man. Like, I I have no idea. Like Davante Adams is cool, but I don't even know if that fucking helps you win. I don't know. I have no idea what to say about it, to be honest with you.
I think that's gonna be a clusterfuck. And I'll tell you why, right? And the Bills got Amari Cooper, correct?
Right. Yeah. We're gonna actually let's jump into that right now. Let's jump into that. So big day in trade. Obviously, we just said about Davante Adams, but the 2 teams that played that game both made moves for receivers. So Quan just said it. Bills trade for Amari Cooper. The Browns trade Amari Cooper to the Bills and a 2025 6th-round pick for the Bills' 3rd-round pick in this coming draft and the 7th-round pick in the year after the draft. Jets, Raiders make the trade for Davante Adams. Jets send the Raiders a conditional 3rd-round pick that turns into a 2nd. if Adams is in the first or second team All Pro, or if the Jets make the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl and Davante Adams is in the active roster, Jets are taking on his base salary and the active roster bonus of $510,000 per game. Who do you think made the better trade?
I think the Bills. That's my that's it.
Wow, so even keel. I mean, I think the player that you're getting, obviously Davante, right, is the player because Amari's looked bad this year, and part of it's Deshaun Watson, but he's been dropping passes. It doesn't seem like he's been given like his. It doesn't seem like the routes that he's running have been,
He
what we
don't want to
expect
be
out of
there,
Amari.
bro.
He didn't want to be there, and so
He don't want to be
I
there.
think you get a motivated Amari Cooper, an offense in Buffalo that's been looking for a number one. They thought maybe they'd get something out of Keon Coleman. He is like Quentin Johnson 2.0. What there's no such thing as a route tree to him. And so that's gonna
He's
help them. And yeah, I know how you feel about Keon. Yeah.
Keon is horrible. He's horrible. You might as well just hand the ball off to him. Like this guy is just can't. He can't get open.
Mhm.
But let me elaborate a little bit more on why I think the Browns won. Excuse me, the Bills. I think that they were smart by not wasting time, right? Because this is kind of aggressive. I feel like it's only 6 weeks in. I feel like we usually see trades a little bit further into the season, but they seen something where they didn't like and they weren't comfortable.
Mhm.
Shakir, I know you and I, we are high on Shakir. Uh, I watched that game very closely. He was definitely on a snap count with his injury.
Yeah, you could tell.
He's he had 2 targets, 2 catches, so he's still Josh Allen's safety blanket. But if he has no one else to go down the field with, that's going to be very tough for the Bills, where their offense can get real stale, like you said, and
Yep.
it's going to be some problems later on. They feel like Amari Cooper still has that Amari Cooper esque of playmaking, which I do believe so too. I don't think that
Same. I also
he
believe that.
did not want to be in Cleveland. So I think they win there. As far as the the specifics of the trade, I like what the Jets did. The Raiders did. As far as listen, if you make it this far, he plays this good for you. We want a little bit more. So I like that part. Um, I don't know, and this is what I was going to say when you asked me about the Jets, uh, Bills game specifically or the Jets moving forward is I think their problem is Aaron Rodgers, and it's not his abilities; it's his leadership. Right?
Yeah.
He has the worst time for taking accountability. It's this guy didn't do this. It's this guy didn't do that. It's this. It's that. It's the refs. It's that. Whatever the case may be, just own it. I think Davante Adams may help that, but I don't know because it also may hurt that because we also know how Davante Adams wants the ball. Now, what happens with Garrett Wilson? Does he fall back a little and say, "All right, Davante Adams, All Pro, great teammate of Aaron Rodgers for many years. They have chemistry." I know someone, and I'm not comparing myself to these guys at all, right? But as a competitor, as someone who um feels like they're elite, I'm sure he's not gonna not want the ball. Do you know what I mean? So losing targets in that space and that can cause some rifts. So we'll see how that goes. Overall
Yeah. I
take.
mean, I think you're spot on. Buffalo, it was a need. They needed playmaking. New York, it necessarily wasn't a need. Like we said, we saw what Garrett. We know who Garrett Wilson
They
is.
needed a kicker.
Yeah, that would have won them the game. And they just needed some stability. Like I thought their offensive game plan yesterday. That's probably the best they've looked on offense all season. Of course, when they
Yeah.
played the Patriots, but the Patriots offense not being able to operate helped that a lot.
Yeah.
So I
And
think the
like I
game
said,
plan
it's
was really good offensively last game. So it's like this Davante Adams. How much does it uptick? Right? How much does it uptick the offense? Obviously, adding an all-pro receiver, someone that Aaron Rodgers likes, but it's organizationally. I saw something earlier today. I think it was either 9 or 10 former Packers players or staff have made their way to the Jets since Aaron Rodgers has been there. That's insane. That's insane, my guy. I mean, who's calling the shots? Now, granted, of course, if you can get a Davante Adams, then of course you try to go ahead and do that. But playmaking on the outside, I don't think was your issue. It was you weren't getting Brees Hall enough touches. They solved that last game. He looked explosive. Their big problem
was
is
not
Aaron
paying Riddick.
Rodgers. Yeah, they needed a pass rush yesterday, and they couldn't keep Aaron Rodgers clean. That's been their problem so far. They invested on that line, and yesterday that kind of unraveled a little bit. So, I agree with you. I like it because the Bills went and they identified a need, and they're like, yeah, well, let's address this now. Who else? I'm sure there's other teams that would have been interested in Amari Cooper, who maybe the Chiefs might have been interested because of Rashee Rice's injury. So go ahead and potentially snatching them from somebody that you're probably going to be playing in the playoffs is a great move. But you said something about leadership and Aaron Rodgers that instantly raises a flag about leadership in the NFL. And ownership is really interesting, right? Because you cut the checks, but typically we don't see owners in the news, right? We don't see owners making big headlines. They tend to try to stay back away from everything because you want the revenue, you pay your players, you hire people to do things around you. Because you're not necessarily a football guy or a basketball guy or a baseball guy, right? That's not your realm. You're over running your other businesses. Well, Jerry Jones, the infamous one, maybe we should get him on.
He ain't gonna tell me what the fuck I can and can't do.
had an awesome time today.
I'll ask him, like, what was you doing at that Klan rally?
October 15th. I know you was with Deshaun. October 15th, hopped on radio 103.5 The Fan and said this quote after being asked by the hosts about the Cowboys' questionable offseason moves. Let's sit down and look at the decisions we've made over the last several years. Now, if you think I'm interested on a goddamn phone call with you over the radio and sitting here and throwing all the good out with the dishwater, you have to be smoking something over there this morning. This is not your job. Your job is, you thought it was over. Your job isn't to let me go over the reasons that I did something and I'm sorry that I did it. That is not your job. That is not your job, or I'll get somebody else to ask me these questions. No, I'm not kidding. You're geniuses? Okay. Y'all really think you're going to sit here with a microphone and tell me all of the things that I've done wrong without going over the rights? What a fucking bomb of an interview by Jerry Jones. You said it, like, who the fuck are you to go over there on a public radio and tell people what they can and cannot say? If you don't want to do the spot anymore because you're that thin-skinned, you got bigger problems than that, my friend.
Those are the best people to interview, by the way. You're going to get the most classic quotes possible for people who cannot take criticism. Because they're just going to get so defensive.
Or old people.
Both. Oh. Yeah, no, I would say more like the rich people because they feel more entitled. I think a lot of older people have a lot of wisdom. Even Jerry, I'm sure he has some wisdom, but sometimes the money may foreshadow that and let him be blinded to what's actually going on out there.
Or what time of the month it is.
Or that.
Let's just real quick, because obviously we're podcasters, and if we had a guest on our show, obviously we'd go over what questions we're gonna ask, because you don't want people to be blindsided unless we know the person, and that might be something different. But to threaten somebody's job because you don't like the questions that they're asking when they're valid questions is ridiculous. And so let's go over the Cowboys offseason moves real quick, because you're like, oh, maybe they said some outlandish shit. Well, check this out. Here are the Cowboys' notable losses: Tony Pollard, Tyron Smith, who's probably a Hall of Fame offensive lineman when it's all said and done, Tyler Biadasz, who was a great offensive lineman for them, now is playing with the Commanders, Tyron Smith with the Jets, and Pollard's with the Titans. Dante Fowler Jr., who's also with the Commanders and had made some plays against Baltimore, and Stephon Gilmore, who I believe had the pick against Aaron Rodgers to seal the game for the Vikings in London against the Jets. So now let's look at their notable additions and the players that they were able to re-sign or keep. Eric Kendrick, pretty good linebacker. They re-signed Jordan Lewis, one of their cornerbacks, who was in the media last week about with the whole George Pickens comments. Rico Suave, who
That's my guy.
went 5 for 25. CeeDee Lamb,
5 for 25 is not bad, bro. It's 5 yards per carry.
All right. CeeDee Lamb, who we all think is a stud receiver, but has yet to go over 100 yards receiving this year. And Dak Prescott, who they gave a ridiculous amount of money to and has definitely not been playing great. So,
but he did get him that game in Pittsburgh.
Oh, the game in Pittsburgh. Okay.
Yeah, he got him the game in Pittsburgh.
Who might start Russell Wilson. So, my question to you, Quan, is
touche.
Were these comments by Jerry Jones justified based on the offseason?
No, they're egregious. They're egregious. He's another. It's just like Aaron Rodgers. Takes the accountability. You could have did better. You should have did better. We like Rico Suave. Go get somebody out there. Derrick Henry, right? Derrick Henry talked about wanting to go to Dallas.
Sure did. And look what he's doing.
If you could have Derrick Henry on that team, you're going to tell me that wouldn't have made a difference? That probably would have got you to win against the Ravens, to be quite honest with you. Because
maybe.
He ran all over them. I don't know. I think that as the owner, you have to take accountability. As the leader, you should take accountability. Right? We talk about that all the time. You're the one at the forefront. You bear the brunt of that negative, criticism or that the impact that your decisions made for the organization. Period.
And they are his decisions, right? Like the Dallas Cowboys are a unique organization for two reasons. One, I think they're one of the only franchises that celebrates for winning over 40 years ago so much. And then on top of that, it's been like 30 years, but I mean, who fucking cares? And then on the real reason is Jerry Jones, their owner, is pretty much the GM, and we don't see that anywhere else, really. And so that's why I said like football people or owners typically bring in people, right? Like you hire people because you don't know everything, right? I mean, the president doesn't know everything. That's why the president has a cabinet, right? Like you don't know everything, my guy. I understand that you've owned the team forever, but the point. There's a reason why GMs exist. There's a reason why personnel people exist, and they're not all your family. Like it's clearly it didn't work. Like the expectations are always going to be high because the Dallas Cowboys. So the Dallas Cowboys, because of all of their winning, are like the Yankees of football, except for the Yankees have won 27 times and the Cowboys have won 6. And Um, the Yankees have not had a losing season my entire life, and the Cowboys have been consistently mid my entire life. So these things are not the same. They don't equate. Yankee mission statement is to win a championship every year. At least they put out a team that you think, hey, they have maybe have a chance every year. Cowboys, their season ends when the words post season get written on their field. That shit can't happen.
I agree.
And Jerry Jones is a big reason for that. I mean, you're a leader, right? And so I've never been officially a leader by role. But one thing that I can say is that if my leader acts a certain way, it's because they're saying, "Hey, it's okay." What they're doing when they act that way is, if I act this way, it's okay for
They're
you to act
allowing
that
it.
way.
Yeah, you're allowing it.
But we know that if a player went and did this, there'd be some kind of repercussions, and that's where that's where it's bullshit. That's where it's bullshit. It's poor leadership, man.
I
Just like the
agree.
Jets.
And I think that's another reason why you won't see them in no Super Bowl anytime soon.
Sounds great to me.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. You know, the fact that he feels he can talk to another human being, I was gonna say an adult, but just people in general, and threaten their job because they're asking him about his decisions,
Because they're doing
is
their job.
egregious. It's terrible. When you really think about it, it's kind of making me upset that he that he has that power, or he at least feels he does. Right? It's like, if I'm them, and you gotta think, right, like that could be their livelihood, and how they support their families and whatnot. So because you feel a certain type of way over a question that is valid, you're jeopardizing their livelihood. Get the fuck out of here. Stupid.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like we're all accountable for our performance, right? And like you can't be fired because you're the owner. So you think that because you're the owner, that there's no accountability, that you should be void of all accountability. That shit doesn't make any sense to me. Like if I don't perform
Yeah.
my job, my boss is calling me into the office. Now, granted, who's his boss? The commissioner. I mean, Roger Goodell ain't gonna call him in and be like, "You can't talk to." Like they might fine him, but what the fuck does that mean to Jerry Jones? He prints money. So, it's just like, to you, so that's a great point you made. Like it's people's livelihoods. If that's how they feed their families, that's how they put a roof over their head. And you're like, oh well, I'll have somebody else ask me these questions. Like, what kind of cornball response is that? Because you're in your
Yeah.
feelings. Like, come on, man. This shit is crazy, bro. Be accountable. Like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should have did something else. It's not hard to do that. It's not hard to say you were wrong.
Yeah.
Yo, let me. I'm gonna try to find the name of that therapy shit we were talking about earlier. See if I could plug that for him. He might need it.
Yeah, he does. He needs to stop making those decisions.
He needs to stop making them decisions, man. That's some corny shit, man. That's some corny shit. But what I want to do now is look ahead to probably some future parlays that'll cost us money. And talk about some of the game or the games that are happening in week 7. So again, like last week, we're only really going to deep dive into the games that Quan and I disagree on and kind of talk about why we think one team's going to win over the other. Starting with Thursday night, we both like the Broncos over the Saints pending Pat Surtain plan, because that was a huge difference. Justin Herbert turned up the moment Pat Surtain went out.
Yeah.
Pats at Jags, this game in London. It's hard not to like the Patriots after what we saw from Drake May, and it's hard to like the Jacksonville Jaguars after maybe their entire existence as a franchise.
Yeah.
Seattle at Atlanta. Atlanta has been cooking. Kirko Chain's got the swag surfing happening on the road and at home. Seattle's been free falling. Their defense has not looked great over the last week. So we called it out on the show. Shout out to Infamously Speaking. We said, hey, they played some duds the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's shown up. It's caught up with them. Titans at Bills. Titans very similar to Jacksonville. Is there a reason to like them? Probably not. Buffalo, you still got to respect Josh Allen, even though Quan thinks that he's a pumpkin. Um, Bengals at Browns. We both like the Bengals here. The Browns are probably going to be selling even more. I wouldn't be shocked even if we saw Myles Garrett get moved at this
Do the
point.
Browns go after a quarterback if they got a top pick?
At this point, they have to. They have to. They are offensively. I can't think of a team less threatening offensively.
The reason why I bring this up is right, they obviously had belief in Deshaun Watson, and the coach still says things that makes you want to believe that he still believes in Deshaun
He doesn't.
Watson.
He doesn't,
And
man.
then you have a talent in Travis Hunter that is special. So that's the only reason why I asked that question.
I don't think Travis Hunter solves your problems because Deshaun Watson hasn't proven. Like, they had talent on the outside. Amari Cooper just looked like he gave up this season. And then
Yeah, but
I mean, Jerry Judy's okay, and then David Njoku's above average tight end, and like they just. And you can say Nick Chubb hurt, but Nick Chubb's always hurt. Jerome Ford is a capable running back. They have just
he got hurt.
They have not looked good at all.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they won a
All
game.
right, we can continue. I just want to throw that question out there.
Texans at Packers, man. This is gonna be a great game. Probably the game of the early window. We both like Green Bay here. Home cooking for the Packers at Lambeau with one of the spookiest offenses in the league. That's only going to continue to get better as they grow.
No, you and I know when we talked about this, you brought up the offense, which is I'm a big believer in love, right? I get into many arguments with my boy Gmo about that, and I said love is 10 times better than hurts. But with
love
that being
hurts.
said, love hurts. I like that. Their defense, bro, number 1 in the league with takeaways. You mix that up with the offense they have, it's a dangerous combination. That's a dangerous combination. In fact, even though I'm still going to stand on business and stay with the Lions, I can see Green Bay taking that position because of the Hutchinson injury.
Yeah, great call out. And we'll get to that game in a minute. Just want to call out last point on the Packers game. Like you said, leading the league in turnovers. Xavier McKinney has a turnover in every single game this year. Former Giant, absolute stud. It was tough to see him go, but glad that he's making big impacts on the team where he has a chance to win. Dolphins at Colts. Doesn't look like Tua's going to play, and maybe for the Colts' sake, hopefully Anthony Richardson does not. But I think we both like the Colts in this game. Anyways, it's crazy because we were high on him, man. We were high on him.
High. I remember this. I forgot the guy's name. I would shout him out, but he was saying how Anthony Richardson was determined to win MVP this year.
Well,
obviously, don't see that happening. In fact, it's kind of scary when you're not thinking about that. You're thinking like, is Flacco a better quarterback to be playing for that team?
Maybe
right
a better option. Because, you think people always talk about, being able to sit behind a veteran quarterback. But remember, Anthony Richardson was out because of injury last year. It's not like it wasn't like a Mahomes situation where he sat behind Alex Smith. Like, Anthony Richardson was hurt. He was rehabbing. So, yeah. Actually, I said game in a week in an early window, not realizing that the Lions at Vikings is also in the early window. Huge implications.
I think that's the biggest game of the week.
Yeah, just because the NFC North title's on the line.
And it's a division game, yeah.
You know what's interesting? I saw something. This division, if you add up their records, they have a combined 5 losses between them. Think about it. Bears are 4-2. Packers are 4-2. Lions are 4-1. Vikings are 5-0. Every team through 6 weeks has at least 4 wins. That is ridiculous.
We talked about it.
We did talk about it.
We said all 4 teams can make the playoffs.
Well,
I think you didn't believe in that, but I said it could happen.
Minnesota, and again, man, pumpkin alert's a real thing. So
Nah,
let's
nah.
wait and see. Now like you
We
said,
agreed on this game.
Hutchinson hurt. No, you picked Minnesota. I picked Detroit. Hutchinson
I
loss
said
is
Minnesota.
huge.
If Aaron Jones plays, I said that.
If Aaron Jones plays, you said that. So that's going to be the kicker because Aaron Jones has been an integral part of that offense. This is again, like you said, to keep your eye on, just because whoever wins this game is going to be first in the division. So huge game early in the season against two really good teams. Moving on, another division game that we disagree on: Eagles at Giants. You like Eagles, I like Giants. We all know I like the Giants. It's not because I'm a Giants fan; it's because I think the Eagles fucking suck.
I want
There's
the Giants to win. I'll just wait.
there's
I want to put that out there. I want the Giants to win, but it's just hard to pick a team that's led by Daniel Jones, and the coaching
that's
has
fair.
definitely made some questionable choices.
Sure.
In the last few weeks, so I'm not a fan of Eagles. I think they're fraudulent just as much as Dallas. But picking Daniel Jones is equivalent to picking Will Levis at this point.
No, it's not that bad, but it's no, it's not even close to being that bad. It's actually disrespectful.
It's
I
bad.
I don't stand up for Daniel Jones, but that is disrespectful. I will say this though. I'd be okay. I'd be higher on the Eagles if they fired Nick Sirianni. I just fucking you saw that? He was like screaming back at the fans, like I gotta be
Oh
myself, comes back with his shaved head. Like, bro,
yeah.
you want Philly fans to hate you? That's what you
Yeah.
want? Oh my god. You want and then what he does, which was interesting to me. I'm not sure. I know you kind of make fun of me before I think we started recording. Like, man, you watch a lot of the post game shit. He was doing all that shit. They played a sus game against a really sus Cleveland team and came out with a
Yep.
win, but it was a close
Yep.
game. Then he brought his kids to the podium. And it's like, so you do all that shit, bring your kids so you don't get slaughtered by the Philly media because they don't want to be bad to you because your kids are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if
He
the
said something that was. What was his quote
he
about the fans booing? Like
you boo
booing.
back, you gotta be yourself or some shit like that. I'm like,
Yeah, it was just
okay.
another one.
Just another fucking jabroni, bro. Like that's
Yeah.
what you want. If they fired their coach and they could put almost anybody in that place, bro, they could hire Jeff Saturday and I might feel better. How about
Jeff
that
Saturday
with
is
the coach
wild.
doing? We both like the Rams against the Raiders. Who the fuck knows what the Raiders are doing? The biggest win for the Raiders is that Tom Brady is a minority owner right now. We both like the Commanders against the Panthers, at home. That's an obvious one. Last game this week we disagree on. Chiefs at Niners. I like the Chiefs. You like the Niners. Tell me why you like the Niners.
I just think it's payback. I think that the Chiefs' injuries will catch up to them in this game. I think that the Niners have an offense that can be somewhat explosive. We talked about it, right? Chiefs have not allowed 28 points since when? Since the Eagles in the
Since
Super
the
Bowl.
Eagles Super Bowl.
So that was a while ago, right? 2 years ago now? So
Yeah.
I think the Niners break that this week. I think they have what it takes, and I think because they're at home and they have that sour taste of losing in the Super Bowl to them, it's gonna be a long day. And it's not like Mahomes been playing great, right?
The defense is real.
The defense is real, but the offense is just as real for 49ers, in my opinion.
So, still waiting to see if Jordan Mason's going to be a go. I think that's a big piece.
I think that is a big piece. I feel way more confident if he is. If he's not, I would say I go from about 85, 90% to about 70. Because Isaac, I don't want to mispronounce his last
Curendo,
name, but
yeah.
he had that big run and he slid. He tried doing a Devin Singletary, and then Kuzak stole a touchdown after. I'm sure that messed up a lot of people's fantasies.
Yeah.
But
Fantasies, and if you did in-game betting, that definitely killed you.
yeah. So I think that line is solid enough, and the weapons around are solid enough where they can still run the ball regardless. Like nobody
Yeah.
thought Jordan Mason was going to do what he's doing with Christian
Well,
McCaffrey being
I don't
out.
know if we'd say that. I don't know if anybody. I don't know
Come
if it'd be
on.
smart to. Well, who else do we see? Think about it. The running backs we've seen do that. Raheem Mostert, Trey Sermon.
Exactly. Damian
We spoke
Williams.
right. Well, no, Damian Williams is a chief. He was the
Nah,
one
I
that you thought that robbed.
Oh yeah,
They
yeah, yeah, yeah.
robbed them
No, no,
against
no.
of MVP
The MVP. Yeah, that's right. Against the Niners.
against 49ers. Yep.
Against the Niners. Yeah, I got confused for a second. I apologize.
But yeah. So like the success he had, I don't think was surprising. But what's interesting, Chiefs are underdogs. They're 1.5 point underdogs. So I'm guessing just because the game's in San Francisco. But San Fran hasn't looked super dominant this season, and Mahomes is healthy. Kelsey's healthy. Chris Jones healthy. McDuffie's healthy.
But who the Niners just play?
Niners just played Seattle.
Yeah,
Thursday night.
They look pretty dominant against them though.
Giants looked really good against Seattle too.
Listen, no, they didn't look really good against Seattle.
Yeah, they did. They moved the ball at will. They moved the ball at will against them. Everyone, this is Matt. First and foremost, if you made it this far, appreciate y'all for tuning in and supporting the show. We had some technical difficulties that caused us to lose about the last 20 minutes or so of this episode. And so we'll be cutting this one short, but look forward to talking again next week. So as always, think critically, speak infamously. We're out.
What